guys, this is Phil the MMA Dude, back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 16, here with my brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, what's going on? How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here. The numbers are getting bigger, huh? 16.
Yep, we are.
And counting.
We're skyrocketing here with how fast we've been turning these episodes out lately. But I want
to give a shout out to everybody online who's been checking out the podcast and interacting with us. We really appreciate all the love and support. We really appreciate it.
Seriously, and I second that. Thank you guys. Without you guys and without the great listener questions for today, we would be nowhere. So thank you all. Okay. Quick agenda breakdown for what we've got on tap today. A UFC Wichita Recap, UFC London Preview, listener questions, and then a little bit of breaking news. So much to discuss. Fight Geek, let me start it off with this. UFC Wichita concluded with a very dramatic knockout. Junior Dos Santos TKOing Derek Lewis in the second round. I believe it was technically a TKO. And my question for you is, first and foremost, who is next for JDS?
It's all becoming more clearer now. I think it's clear it has to be JDS versus Francis, a matchup we have not seen yet as a true number one contender match to fight whoever. I mean, we still don't know what's happening with DC. We all know he's going to get that Brock fight at some point. One would think he has to defend that title soon, right? I don't know. But I definitely think at this point it's clearly Francis versus JDS. What about you?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I would have normally thought that Stipe would have, kind of forced his way into that picture, perhaps fighting JDS or Ngannou a second time. But I think as time goes on, Dana clearly didn't love Stipe as champ to begin with. So Stipe is getting in a more and more uncomfortable position as he continues to try and wait it out. Yes, I don't know if you saw very recently, as in a few hours ago, Dana White tweeted just a bunch of smiley faces, which was very...
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that means DC Brock is either 238 or more likely UFC 239 international fight.
Oh, that's what you're guessing, huh? That's what those smiley faces meant?
What do you think they meant?
I mean, I have no idea what they meant, honestly, but...
Am I crazy? Is that a huge stretch?
I guess it's not a stretch, but it's just hard to tell. It's hard to get excited about that without any follow-up. So, yeah, I think it's definitely Stipe's hurting his cause now with how long he's being inactive. And now he's, developed a narrative around him that he is kind of complaining and, just working too hard for that rematch that, I think a lot of people agree that he should fight, at least one more person, and we've talked about it ad nauseum in the past. And what do we know about DC? He was going to retire in March. Now he's not going to retire in March. He's injured, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So he's not scheduled to fight anytime soon. Could there be an interim heavyweight championship on the line at any point soon?
Well, I don't believe so. Again, I don't pretend to have all the answers.
Maybe that's what Dana's smiley faces were about, a heavyweight interim belt on the line. He loves those.
Yeah. He's going back to the interim well, there's no doubt. I believe that DC will be ready to fight for either 238 or 239. So I don't see an interim heavyweight belt in the future. But that's what I've heard from sources that are not particularly reliable. So I don't say that with entire confidence.
All right, well, let's jump right into UFC Wichita then.
Let's do it. So first off, let's start with, again, JDS defeating Derek Lewis in the second round, TKO via punches. What did you make of the fight?
Well, it kind of went down the way I thought it would. I picked JDS. I thought he would steer clear and win a decision, but I think it's clear that Derek Lewis has a big deficiency to his body. If you hit him in the body, it gives him all kinds of problems. I don't know if that's something moving forward he's going to be able to fix, but we've seen it a couple times, maybe even 3 times now, where a stomach shot has basically ended the fight because he can't, protect himself anymore. So, with that being said, I thought JDS looked good, but I thought that Derek Lewis looked really bad, honestly.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but I think he's been exposed, and anybody who has, a well-rounded game plan can just attack his body moving forward, and I think the jury's out on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I very hard to disagree with any of that. I don't know what exactly is next for Lewis, but I would highly recommend that first and foremost he take a long break. I know that he hadn't necessarily fought that recently. UFC 230 wasn't exactly yesterday, but he needs to relax and take a break.
Yeah, but I will say physically he looked as good as I've seen him. He was trim, he looked strong, he didn't look overweight, so he looked like he came in shape. It's just he has a really hard time with those body shots.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree. Totally.
All right, moving on to the co-main. So this was an exciting fight.
Yep, I picked this right.
Millender, and you picked Zaleski dos Santos.
Yep. I thought that. I think that Zaleski dos Santos. I think he's incredible. I think he's suffering a little bit from his last name, frankly, especially with JDS on the rise. I think it doesn't help, Elizu's efforts. I feel a little bad for the guy, but he's going to be fine. I was extremely impressed with his defeat of Millender. Submission, rear naked choke.
He didn't even let Millender get off at all. He came in there and charged him and just took control from the beginning and never let Millender get comfortable. And that was really impressive versus Millender, who I was really high on. Still am high on, but you can see that well-rounded mixed martial artists can attack singular, strikers and athletic guys, with a well-rounded game plan. And you saw that there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you too much on the spot here because I'll be the first to admit that I don't even know exactly what the best answer is. But who would you like to see? Zaleski dos Santos fight next at welterweight? It's a tough one.
It is very tough. He's a fun fighter, so you want to put him in there with an action guy. I mean, he deserves a top 15 guy. You got the top 15 in front of you right now?
I don't. I can certainly pull it up. I try not to.
I mean, my fallback's always just give him, throw him. Actually, how about I just want to see Mike Perry fight everyone. But
what about the loser of Leon Edwards and Gunnar Nelson?
That is a fair matchup for sure.
Okay.
I like that matchup.
Cool. Okay.
All right, moving on. Let's go to the next fight. Nico Price versus Tim Means. Now, this was fight of the night, was it not?
This was 100%. 100% fight of the night.
Right. And the striking by Tim Means was amazing. I think he was open hand slapping Price and actually hurt him with an open hand slap. And then got a little overzealous and ate one on the chin and went down. And it looked like he broke his ankle as well. I think he broke his fibula also, right? Or no?
I believe he did. Do you know? Yeah.
Terrible news. That was hard to watch, but unbelievable action to end that fight. Nico Price is an athletic, tricky. He's an awkward dude who he's generated power from awkward angles. He pulls off crazy submissions. He comes back from being down. Very crafty guy. So that was definitely fight of the night, and hope Tim Means has speedy recovery.
Yep, absolutely. I couldn't believe it. I think I tweeted at the moment. I said, it looks like one of those knockouts from a bug in UFC 3. I don't know if you play UFC 3. It's not very good compared to 2. That's a whole nother story. But there's a lot of, I suck at it, so at least I'm always accusing the game of bugs when I lose, which is always. And it looked weird, man, because Means was on the offensive, and it looked like he hurt Price, if you remember, right before he
had hurt him a couple times. I think he had stumbled him backwards and then had him up against the cage and was coming in, caught one on the chin, and then a la Eduardo Dantes looks like he broke his ankle on the fall.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And last thing I'll say about that is I need to give Nico a little bit more respect, frankly, than I did last week. I was a little.
That was welterweight, correct?
Yes, it was.
So why not? Why don't just do Nico Price versus Zaleski dos Santos? That's a fun action fight.
I don't hate that at all. I don't hate it. I don't.
Cool. Neither of them took too much damage. They could both come back and fight, and both of those guys are rated 15. If they're not ranked, they're right in that 15, 16, 17 range, in my opinion.
Yep.
So we also saw the return of Big Ben Rothwell. What'd you think of this performance?
Well, I thought that my first takeaway was just there's something about Ben Rothwell and his presence in the octagon. He is a terrifying looking demon.
He is. And not only that, he's really awkward.
Yes.
His striking defense is incredibly awkward, but incredibly effective. He kind of paws out in front of you, and he kind of like gets to you before you can get to him. And the fact that he's so tall and so big, it's almost impossible to get an overhand right with any steam there. So he's a puzzle. I'm glad he's back. I think it really helps the depth of the heavyweight division. They need some new blood and some new matchups. So glad to see him back. And although he's not, he's like a big zombie who just keeps coming forward and never really reacts to damage. He just kept coming forward. He was eating shots. It was Blagoy Ivanov. Is that his name?
Yep.
Tough guy. I mean, he's been in there with JDS and now Ben Rothwell in his first 2 UFC fights, and he's had moments in both, but undersized for a heavyweight, especially against a guy like Ben Rothwell. So, good performance for him. Interested to see what they do next with him.
One thing I wanted to bring up, I'm going to break the listener question rule just because we had one so specific to this fight.
All right, let's go.
Yep, Paul O'Kelly at SparksF1 said, Ivanov versus Rothwell. How on earth did all 3 judges score that 29-28? Ben won round 2 with aggression, and round 3 is Ben's without a doubt. 10-8 is even possible. What are your thoughts on the scoring of that fight?
Sorry, I looked away at my phone. I apologize. Say it one more time.
What are your thoughts on the scoring of that fight, on the Ivanov Rothwell fight? Paul Kelly clearly had it for Rothwell.
I clearly saw Ben Rothwell moving forward, controlling the action throughout the fight. It was 29-28 at minimum, Ben Rothwell, in my opinion, and probably closer to 30-27. I mean, he never was in danger. If I remember correctly, he was always moving forward and always responding, and he was landing a lot of little shots, even though he wasn't landing huge power shots. So I would probably say it's safe 29-28 Ben Rothwell. I mean, I can't tell you the rounds right now off the top of my head on Tuesday afternoon, but definitely Ben Rothwell clearly controlled that fight, in my opinion.
Okay, so you do think he was robbed?
Who?
Ben Rothwell.
Well, he won that fight.
Against Ivanov? No, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir. He did not. He lost. Unanimous decision.
What?
Ivanov defeats Ben Rothwell via unanimous decision. 29-28. All 3.
My mind is blown right now. I had people over. I was watching that fight out of the corner of my eye. I didn't think there was any way that was even possible. So that was why I was a little quiet on Twitter that night. But wow, you heard my thoughts. I thought it could have almost been 30-27 Rothwell, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, But
29-28 Rothwell, no doubt. He was advancing forward the whole fight. I think the strikes were somewhat even, but like I said, when dealing with Rothwell's defense, you're not landing anything super heavy because of the way he has his arms out and up. So, wow, really breaking news to me, man. I didn't realize that. That's horrible.
Yeah, and now I'm going to anger you because I scored it 29-28 Ivanov. But
wow.
I thought that Ivanov won a very close second round.
Won it how? Moving backwards and throwing one shot?
Well, the second round, I think that he was moving backwards, but I think that he was landing the more effective strikes. Obviously,
effective.
obviously he lost the third.
Did you see him at the end of that fight? Both of his eyes were completely lumped up and black
Oh
swollen.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Ivanov definitely lost the third. Definitely. I don't know.
This is absurd. All right, let's just move on because now I'm embarrassed that I thought that Ben Rothwell won this whole time.
All good. Just don't delete it. We have to keep it in so that everyone can know.
Wow, mind blown.
Beneil Dariush defeats Drew Dober in a crazy, actually, this is a pretty crazy fight. Submission armbar in the second round.
Dariush weathered the early storm. He looked like he was going out. His knees buckled certainly once, maybe even twice. Fought through it, got the position, and it looked like Drew Dober started losing steam towards the end of the first round, and it was a second round stoppage, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So, very impressive bounce-back performance by Dariush, and keeps him relevant for a little while longer. It was nice to see him weather that storm because he's had some bad luck with, his Hernandez loss and stuff like that. So, good to see him take a shot, fight through it.
Yep, absolutely. I didn't have too many thoughts on the Omari Akhmedov versus Tim Bosch fight. Did you?
Akhmedov controlled it, broke his nose. Did Tim Bosch win that? I didn't realize it, or what?
Oh, Akhmedov won that via unanimous decision, 30-27 on all three cards.
That's an imposing guy, though. I mean, going forward, he's certainly... Tim Bosch is dangerous. He's got some heavy hands, and he's a veteran, and he pretty much, did what he wanted. I know in the third round it looked like he was kind of running away to save some steam. Maybe it was just me, but that's what I saw. He was a little more inactive in the third, but he was clearly landing heavy shots on Tim Bosch at least the first and second round.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a 205er, right?
The middleweight.
Oh, middleweight. Gosh, he is a big 185er.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So, that's an interesting guy to watch going forward. So
I agree. All right. So the main prelim, Anthony Rocco Martin, aka Tony Martin, the artist formerly known as Tony Martin, as I like to call him, defeats Sergio Moraes via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 30-27. I tweeted during it, I thought it was so funny that you could hear Kayla Harrison's bellowing screams of encouragement so easily. You could hear every word. She should be an opera singer. She has got some pipes.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly hear. She's cheering on her guy. So, what'd you think of the performance?
Look, I think that... do I call him Tony or Anthony Rocco? I mean...
It's certainly Rocco.
Okay,
Anthony Rocco Martin, I guess.
Oh, okay. It's what a change. Okay. No, it's good. It's a good change. Okay, Anthony Rocco Martin. Yeah, I thought he looked really good. He looked really solid. The one thing about Martin that I will say is, let's be honest, sometimes he lacks finishing powers. He lacks sometimes that oomph that's really going to get him noticed, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough fight for him right there. That's a dangerous black belt in jiu-jitsu. He wanted to steer clear of on the floor, so he wasn't going to try and get a sub more or less. And then, also on the feet, he was more or less just winning on, jabbing points. So it's not going to get him a headlining spot anywhere soon, but it does show you that he has an acumen and an ability to follow a game plan versus a dangerous guy, and that's very important.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then...
Is there anything else on there you wanted to touch?
Well, I did want to touch on really fast on Yana Kunitskaya's defeat of Marion Renault.
Why? Because you picked her?
That's part of it, because I'm petty and I picked her. No, but the truth is, because Kunitskaya looked absolutely insane by the end of that fight. She looked
Did you say... Oh, yeah.
It was a blood mask.
Yeah, but it was a lot closer than...
Oh, it was very close.
A lot of people thought. I thought Marion Renault was getting on the inside and landing that right over and over and over. Obviously, she broke her nose. Damage done, I would say that Marion won that fight. But obviously, it's a sport, and I think Yana did do enough point-wise to win. But damage-wise, I don't think there's any question who won that fight.
Oh yeah, and after the fight, Marion Renault was like letting out these kind of bellows, like I know I won, and so she clearly thought she won that fight. I felt for her for sure.
And I was impressed with her ability to get on the inside versus someone who's a lot lankier, and Kunitskaya knows how to use her length with her kicks and stuff. So that was an interesting fight, but yeah, she got busted up for sure.
Yeah, give Yana this though. She ain't no wimp.
No, she's tough. She showed some toughness for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you wanted to cover on this card?
No, let's go. Let's move on to what? Did you have some?
No. I was gonna say UFC London, Till versus Masvidal.
Sneaky solid card.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
What time is it on? Is it on at like some crazy time because it's in London, or is it on at a regular time? Do we know?
So I believe the prelims start my time like 1 p.m. ish.
So a little earlier maybe.
Yeah, definitely a little earlier. But I know we had some great listener questions asking about our breakdown of this and the co-main. And by the way, I think the third fight down is arguably better than the co-main. I know I might get some crap for that, but we'll talk about that.
More explosive for sure.
Yeah.
But,
so Darren Till versus
Jorge. Did you have listener questions that we could weave within our breakdowns or what?
I mean, man, you're really putting me on the spot here. Yeah, that's not as easy.
We'll multitask if we can.
Yeah. I'm doing everything.
Or if we can't, we'll just go.
Oh, actually, I'm glad you asked that. You know what? I'm really glad you asked that. Okay. Our really good friend of the program, Kelzo14. That's at DLYTFULDIVA. Kelzo14. She said, UFC London. What are your thoughts on? Well, okay. She just asked about a whole bunch of fights. So Till Masvidal, Gunnar Nelson versus Edwards, Ozdemir Reyes, and then Marshman Phillips. So we just have to make sure to talk about that. And then she ended it with, and what's Ben Askren going to do at the end of the main event? I love that.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there for sure. So Till Masvidal, the main event. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, that's fine. I'll go first. So, I've been thinking about this fight a lot because it's a fight that interests me. I'm a big fan of both, honestly. I'm probably a slightly bigger fan of Gamebred just because I've always believed that he's sort of, he's like what the Diaz brothers would be if they were active right now.
Don't.
Huh?
Just don't compare people to the Diaz brothers.
Oh, all right. I touched a nerve. Okay, all right, fair enough. But what I end up seeing, honestly, is I think that Till is smart. He knows that Masvidal is tough as they get, tough as dirt, and Till's going to pick him apart at distance and win a decision. And before you roll your eyes, it's going to be a fair decision, unanimous decision. 4 rounds to 1, Till.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It's hard for me to see Darren Till picking apart Jorge Masvidal, who has one of the best jabs in not only the lightweight division but the welterweight division. He has a great jab. He's a great boxer.
Yeah.
So this is going to be back and forth, and the fact that there's no quit in Masvidal, that's scary because I think Till, especially with his weight cut, I will say what I've seen so far, he looks like he's in the best shape we've seen him in prior to a fight. So he may be in a better place than he has been before. But when you're cutting the amount of weight he cuts, that usually hurts you in the later rounds. Jorge Masvidal is not going anywhere in the later rounds. He's a 155er who's coming up. So cardio is a big advantage on his side in rounds 4 and 5, in my opinion. But with that being said, I am leaning Darren Till with his youth, his length, and the fact that he looks like he's in the shape of his life. I mean, there's no doubting his talent. I think he possesses a little more stopping power than Masvidal. I think he will. Early on, it'll be a lot of like Masvidal when he fought Wonder Boy and Till fought Wonder Boy. That's kind of their common opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those fights all look the same, where they have a lot of respect for each other on the feet, and there's not a lot of action. So I don't expect a ton of action out of these two early. I expect by around middle of the second round they'll be getting warmed up, and it'll be a boxing heavy attack. And I think, like you said, I hate to agree, but Darren Till via, I think it's going to be super close because of the boxing skill of Masvidal. I think it's going to be split decision, Darren Till.
Ooh.
Controversy continues.
Yeah,
the controversy continues.
And if that happens, if that happens, can you imagine how much crap Darren Till's going to get? A lot.
Yeah, but it'll be tough. But I mean, I just don't see him whitewashing Jorge Masvidal. I just do not see it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we mostly agree here. Okay, so the co-main event: Leon Edwards versus Gunnar Nelson. Do you want to go first, or should I?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Yeah.
This whole card is full of razor close matchups, in my opinion, and this is another one that was really. I could have made a case for either guy, and in my head, I was making a case for both guys, but in the end, I'm gonna lean towards Gunnar Nelson. And I'm going to take Gunnar Nelson because I think he will keep enough distance on his feet, and that Leon Edwards doesn't have enough offensive output from what I've seen to really put Gunnar back against the cage and threaten him in ways that really troubles him. So I think Gunnar will be able to be comfortable on the feet and wear him down and get into a scramble. And I think Gunnar Nelson will be a third-round submission.
Really hate that we're agreeing here. I have Gunnar Nelson by second round submission. For the record, Gunnar is an underdog. He is a plus 143 underdog according to my bookie. So,
it's probably just because he took the bad Ponzinibbio loss. He's only won his last fight. Since then, he's had a little bit of a layoff. Leon Edwards has been a tiny bit more active, so I can see why that is, but. By fight metrics, I think Gunnar Nelson is still the favorite. Yeah,
I tend to agree with you. All right, so that moves us to the third fight down. I'm extremely excited for this fight. I think this could have easily been the co-main. I think I've even said on Twitter this could have easily headlined a fight night. Is Volkan No Time Ozdemir versus Dominic Reyes. So. I will pick this one first, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So I have Volkan shocking everyone, and getting that TKO victory over Dominic Reyes in the second round. Volkan's a big underdog, so I'm going out on a big limb here.
I hope you don't put too much money on it.
Oh, I'm not touching it.
I'm going with Dominic Reyes here, and. I could have made a case for both guys, but I think Ozdemir's a little slow-footed for Reyes. I think Reyes is going to be able to move around, create angles where he can strike, and he's a very athletic young prospect. I'm going to take Dominic Reyes, and I see something like something like a high kick to knock Ozdemir over and then stoppage via ground and pound. We'll say second round. Dominic Reyes TKO.
Wow. All right. We disagree there. Hashtag split podcast. Okay.
Finally.
Yeah.
All right. Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Alberto Quinones.
You started off. It's your turn.
Going with Nathaniel Wood. Big fan of this guy. I think he was a former King of the Cage champion, right?
Yep. I believe that's correct.
And I don't think we've seen quite the best yet out of him. But I have been impressed by him, so I am going to take him here. I think he is the favorite versus a tough guy in Quinones. I just think Wood will get it done, and he's the local guy over there too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Nathaniel Wood, I don't know. Let's say third round submission.
Okay. I've got Wood by unanimous decision, so maybe we've got to change the name of the podcast to the Unanimous Decision Podcast.
All right, moving on. Danny Roberts versus Claudio Silva. Thoughts?
You know, I've got Silva. I've got Silva winning this thing. I think Claudio Silva's going to find a way. I think this is going to be another unanimous decision.
I'm right there with you. Okay, now we're back to our listener question. Jack Marshman versus John Phillips. Who do you got?
I have Marshman defeating Phillips via second round stoppage.
Oh, I got Jack Marshman too, just because every time I watch Marshman, he's just so tough. I just think he has the toughness. I think he'll probably win a sloppy, grinded out decision.
How are we agreeing on this card? This card is so crazy.
Arnold Allen versus Jordan Rinaldi. This is a tough one. Good fight. Great fight.
Yeah, great fight. I've got Arnold Allen defeating Jordan Rinaldi via second round stoppage.
I thought these were close, but we're agreeing on all of them. I have Arnold Allen as well. Next, Mark Diakese versus Joseph Duffy. Who do you got?
Don't say Diakese, because I got Diakese.
Oh, thank goodness. I've got Joseph Duffy, and I think it's a no-brainer. I cannot believe you would pick Diakese right now.
Wow. Just coming out with the nuclear missiles when we disagree.
I think that's the easiest pick on the card.
And I cannot believe that you would disagree with me once.
I say Molly McCann versus Cachoeira is the easiest pick on the card, and then Diakese losing to Duffy is the second easiest pick on the card.
All right. Yeah, I know Mark Diakese. Like, he's like the cool guy to like bully right now because he's had a rough time. I get it. I still think he wins.
All right, moving on. Here's another interesting fight. Tom Breeze versus Ian Heinisch.
I got Breeze.
I got Heinisch.
Ooh. Okay.
I think that's going to be a grueling, interesting fight, though. Tom Breeze is a big middleweight. He's tall and lanky. He's 11-1. He's fighting Ian Heinisch, who's 12-1.
It's going to be a great one.
Yeah, that is probably the most intriguing fight, other than maybe Diakese Duffy, but I think Duffy's clearly the better fighter there. So that's definitely one to watch. All right. Anything else you want to touch on this card, or you just want to jump into our listener questions?
Really quickly, wanted to touch on Molly McCann versus Priscilla Cachoeira, because since you said that it was the easiest fight to pick, I want to know who you picked.
Well, what do you mean? I shouldn't even have to answer that.
So, okay, you're saying Molly McCann.
Obviously. Priscilla Cachoeira, the only other time we saw her, she was like outstruck like 200-0 by Valentina Shevchenko. So, and she blew her ACL in that fight too. So I haven't seen anything from her to lead me to believe that she's going to beat someone like Molly McCann, who was a top prospect not too long ago.
Yeah, we disagree. So we disagree here.
Wow,
yep.
Really? Why would you pick her?
Because she fought someone named Valentina Shevchenko. She didn't fight a bum on the street for $3 in like a crack hit.
Yeah, but Molly McCann was a champion of her former organization before she was brought over.
What was she champion of? Yeah, in that. Well, what was that?
The same organization that Conor McGregor was the champion of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Cage Warriors. I must bow down.
So you think
women's Cage Warriors? Is it really that? Is it that elite?
So you think Priscilla Cachoeira is going from that performance versus Shevchenko to beating another organization's champion?
I just don't think Molly's that good. That's the real difference between. That's where we're disagreeing here. I don't think Molly's that good.
Well, let's not move any further with the analysis then. We'll agree to disagree there, and we'll touch on it next episode.
All right.
Let's get into the listener questions.
Let's do it. Listener questions. All right. Okay, so this is from strike.mx at strikemxnyc. Thoughts on Aldo versus Volkanovski? I think Alex's pressure is immense, striking very straightforward boxing. He can't outbox Aldo. I got Aldo by decision in a very fun fight, maybe TKO late. What are your thoughts?
Very tough fight. I think we've touched on this.
We touched on it a little bit last episode, yeah.
But I definitely think that Volkanovski is a lot like Chad Mendes, only bigger and stronger, maybe a little more versatile as well on the feet. So you can kind of look at the Aldo versus Mendes fights and see how that plays out. I because I think Volkanovski's better and Aldo's older, I think he really presents problems to Aldo if he gets to the third round, with Aldo getting tired and Volkanovski's wrestling ability. If he were to get Aldo down as he's, if he's able to land stuff and get him tired, he could definitely, win a fight over there. But, I'm not ready to pick a winner on that yet. Do I have to?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like many cards away. Like, I'm not even close to that. But I would say now, Volkanovski would have a great chance versus Jose Aldo, in my opinion. But I don't know. I can't make a pick.
No, you have to make a pick. The listeners are listening.
So far away.
It's not that far. It's UFC 237.
All right. Volkanovski by third round stoppage.
Ugh. That's my pick too.
All right, next one.
Okay, this is at Smoothie251, Smoothie357, arguably one of the MVP listeners of the podcast. Smoothie! With his latest and greatest antics, is McGregor planning his exit? Does he want to fight anymore, especially after his last loss? Please make it stop, ? Obviously, this is also, for people that don't know, a reference to Conor McGregor getting arrested the other day in Miami Beach, Florida, charged with felony strong-arm robbery and criminal mischief. It sounds like all he did was take someone's cell phone. He was taking pictures of them, and he crushed it, which I think is honestly kind of funny.
Yeah, we all know what he did, but in the fact that he's still not learning any lessons, the fact that he just still does whatever he wants, the fact that he's it's whatever to him. So, I mean, I do think we've certainly seen the last of the elite Conor McGregor, I feel like. I mean, I don't see how he's coming back from where he is mentally, from what he shows us. He's selling whiskey. He's getting arrested. He's in court. I mean, didn't he literally 2 days before that just finish off all of what he had to deal with regarding the bus incident?
I believe so.
It was like 48 hours later, he's arrested again after clearing up his prior situation. He didn't even go 1 week. So I don't really like talking about legal, this, that, and the other thing. I used to be a Conor McGregor fan. He's making it real hard, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I wanted to see him and Cowboy fight, but at what point does Conor McGregor start actually hurting his value?
Well, I think like right now.
Because
probably like right now.
I think the casual fan looks at McGregor like, outside of his fanatics, people are looking at McGregor in a light that's not a champ, doing biopics about his rise. I think people look at Conor McGregor kind of as a clown now. At least people I talk to who don't know much about MMA, they just see all the antics.
Yeah, and then
and it's been so long since he showed us any elite MMA fights that it's becoming a distant memory. It's kind of sad. It sucks.
Yep, I agree. And then just to piggyback off that, because we have such a related listener question, MMA Comics Funny Movies is the name at WittyTag2, and he asks, is Conor McGregor using his newfound infamy to somehow catapult a rebranded bad boy image? Is Dana White going to use this publicity for some kind of big fight reward? So is there going to be a big fight because of all of this publicity?
Well, of course, there'll always be. I mean, until something were, terrible to happen. As long as Conor McGregor is able to fight, the UFC and Dana White are going to be capitalizing on his fame or infamy, one of the two. His nickname is the Notorious.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of like a little more foretelling than we realized, because he's going to end up more notorious than anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's going to be. I just think it sucks because his rise was so fun. Watching him climb up and watching him predict and talk and kind of his early rise was so much fun. You wanted to visualize what kind of champion he would eventually be. And once he got to be a champion, he showed us everything but.
Yeah, hard to disagree.
And I hate to talk about McGregor like that, too, because I'm sure people will hear this and be like, wah, 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 wah. But it is what it is, man. He's the prime of an MMA fighter, it's fleeting.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's starting to he's becoming every cliche, every single cliche.
And at this point, has he been arrested enough to where he's hurting his big time sponsorships? Like, I don't know if Nike can take him on. I don't know if he's a Reebok guy, but I'm sure Reebok's not happy with the fact that he's associated with the things he's associated with.
Oh, I'm sure they'll find a way to get over it as they cry themselves to sleep with the $100 bills they've got.
Anyways, okay, find another question. I don't like talking about that. I'm going to edit all that part out.
Why?
Just kidding.
Okay, all right. So this is at No Huddle Combat. This was a really good question. Maybe my favorite one. If you guys can set up the ideal plan to retire Daniel Cormier and execute a plan to get the heavyweight division running and back on track, what would it be? What would be some key matchups that you would make? How do you handle DC's retirement?
I would have DC relinquish the belt and fight Brock in a legacy fight for his retirement fight.
Stop.
And then I would make
Fight Geek, you're drunk. Stop.
Oh, no. You would have to be drunk to think Brock Lesnar deserves to step right into a title shot. That's what you got to be drunk.
Are we doing this whole argument again? It's for fun. It's fun. Smoke a joint. It's fun.
Set the belt down for the guys who are not fighting for fun. For the guys who are fighting for the belt. If DC wants to fight for fun, nobody's going to hate on him for that. No one's going to say he wasn't a great champion. Go fight for fun. Give the belt up and let the crop of heavyweights decide who the next heavyweight champion will be. And you go fight Brock, make all the money in the world, and retire and be a legend and a Hall of Famer. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I don't agree. I think that it should be you make DC Brock. I understand. Brock doesn't deserve it. I mean, come on.
That's the worst title fight in history as far as legitimacy, right?
Oh, now you're just being ridiculous. That's the worst title fight in history?
Is a no contest for PEDs.
I mean, I really don't want to get into PEDs
and
legitimacy of title fights. Let's not go there. Oh my gosh, let's not go there.
You guys should see Phil the MMA's dude's eyes right now. It's DEF CON. All right,
let's please not go to the legitimacy of title fights with PEDs right now, because I cannot.
Okay, so
I think what you do is you do DC Brock, then you make JDS versus Ngannou like you recommended, and then DC's retirement fight is either, first of all, if he loses to Brock, retire. And then if he beats Brock, which I think he will, then he fights JDS and Ngannou winner, and then that's it. I feel like his time has gone on. That third Jones fight that I used to be so high on, it matters less and less.
It does not matter. It doesn't matter. We don't need to see it.
I don't need to see it anymore.
I'd just rather see time move on, for crying out loud. Do we got to see the same fights so many times?
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
I agree.
Okay, next question. Hopefully we gave you a couple answers within there.
Yeah, so I'm just reading all the questions, huh? I'm like the...
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay. All right, thank you for all of your help.
I got one right here.
Yeah?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, all right. Kenneth Roberts at Mr_Tiddlewinks said, I know you see Nate Diaz poking at the Bear Khabib, and before Kron's fight, Nate said he would be back. How likely are we to see either of the Diaz brothers back in the UFC, and how do you guys think he matches up with Khabib?
Well, as the resident Diaz fanatic, I'll take this one first.
You really are.
Well, I mean...
no, that's fine. That's good.
It's a whole episode in its own,
yeah.
You know? Nick Diaz, we're not going to see Nick Diaz fight again. I just don't think so. Unless he's 42 years old in Bellator once, like, some kind of time lapse in his UFC contract happens or something.
Yeah.
Or he sues the UFC and gets free. I don't think he has any interest in fighting for the UFC anymore. If he was a free agent, I think he would be interested in potentially fighting in Japan or Bellator. But I just don't think there's something in the UFC after fighting, GSP and Anderson Silva and guys like that. I just don't think there's anything that piques his interest anymore, honestly. People may disagree with me, but I just don't think he's interested. Nate Diaz chances versus Khabib. Don't like him at all. I love Nate Diaz, and he does present some issues off his back, but we've seen how guys with pace and top control do versus him. I think you can go back to the RDA fight where RDA beat him up with leg kicks, got him down on the ground, and really dominated him from the top. I think you'd see something similar to that. I don't think Khabib would be able to finish Nate Diaz. I think he's too resourceful for that, for sure. But I think he would have a handily decision. We might see Nate win like round 4 by, getting the better of some exchanges or something. But I definitely think Khabib matches up comfortably with Nate Diaz.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would go a step further in saying that, I have no idea what Nate Diaz's current level is at because, guys, he hasn't fought since UFC 202. I mean, that was ages ago.
His skills aren't. I mean, the guys, they train for triathlons. So if you look at Nate's social media and you follow Nate, he's in as good a shape as he's ever been. I mean, it's social media, man. Better shape than he was in his 20s when he was a little flabby looking.
If there's one thing I learned about social media, you can hide a lot with social media.
From experience or what?
I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah, everyone does, right? I mean, I don't think, I'm just saying, I don't think that the fact that he's trained for triathlons necessarily means that he's in the best shape of his life for a UFC fight.
Well, I mean, he's still boxing daily, jiu-jitsu daily. The guys he trains with are elite. Based on Kron's performance, you can tell that he's grappling with high-level grapplers. Nate Diaz is certainly elite still to this day, 100%. Maybe not top 4 elite, but he's certainly a top 10 light heavyweight in the world, no doubt.
Yeah, I guess what I was getting at is that if him and Khabib somehow fought a 5-round fight, it would be hard for me to see it going to a decision. I do think that Nate would get finished, and I know that Nate is extremely durable. I get that, but
legendarily durable.
I understand. I haven't seen him in long enough to have any kind of idea of what his level's at, and I think ring rust is a real thing.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on. I got one.
Okay.
Lit Wit at BaconLover4299 asks, should Francis get the immediate title shot in JDS versus Stipe for number 1 contender, his wish, or Francis versus JDS for number 1? We kind of touched on this earlier, but I will reiterate, I like Francis versus JDS for the number 1 contender spot.
So that means that you do want the DC Brock fight.
No, I don't want it, but I mean, I understand where we're going. So,
yeah. Okay. Fair.
And I think Stipe's inactivity is going to hurt him immensely.
Oh yeah. Definitely agree. I agree with all that.
All right, let's move down. I got another one queued up if you want.
Yep. Oh yeah, I've gone through mine.
Okay. I am just scrolling the bottom of the list, see if there's anyone else. I know this is great, great listening. Sorry, guys. Actually, I think that's it, dude.
All right. Do we want to talk about anything else? I know that Sarah Kaufman was invited to the Kayla Harrison Invitational. Oh, sorry. I mean, the very legitimate 155 women's lightweight tournament. I think that's nice.
You're such a hater.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Always hating on anything PFL related.
No. I think Sarah Kaufman is a very legitimate 155-pound fighter. It's a very legitimate thing. Kayla might lose. Who knows?
That's doubtful.
Yeah, no, I know. I was being really sarcastic. Okay. All right. Is that everything?
That's everything. So I'm going to take it away. As usual, guys, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Soundcloud, YouTube, Stitcher, and Buzzsprout. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We're at Split_podcast. You can find us anywhere. 4 words. The Split Decision Podcast. Thanks as always for listening. See you next time. Peace.
Peace.